Well, you still didn't tell me who drank all my whiskey. Do they still have dances at that Dorsey mansion?
He's a likely candidate.
No.
I figured he probably was.
I was there.
Yeah, I know you were. That's where I met you. Thank you, Sam. That was very nice. Appreciate that. That was very nice. You certainly deserve it. The next fella that we honor here, I never have known, but I've watched him rope. As a young man, I watched him rope, and I was raised with some pretty good ropers out there in Lee County. Troy Fort, Jake McClure, and Toots Mansfield became a good friend of ours when we moved down to Texas, and Sonny Edwards, and I know that John roped against all of them, and I know he was, but you know, as I remember you, Mr. Holleyman, you were a little more hefty. I mean, you were a little more than you are now. Has something happened? You gotten a little older?
I've been through a few droughts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that I remember watching all of them rope there, and you know, Jake McClure. I was a young man. Really, just a kid, but I did work in the branding pen with him one time. You know, used to when you a kid, you run the dope bucket, and we don't do that anymore. But then you run the dope bucket. I think they just wanted to keep us out of the way or something. But anyway, I never saw a fella heel like Jake McClure. It didn't make any difference what position he was in on a horse. Whether it was over here, or wherever, he'd throw a loop and gather a foot. My wife's father, Jerry Clayton, worked through with him when they were young men on the Warren Ranch, Mule Shoe Ranch. It was a Mule Shoe Ranch up south of Levelland. And Jerry said that Jake never put that rope down. He had it in his hand from the time he got up. He was roping bedrolls, he was roping weeds, he was roping fence posts, he was roped anything that moved, and that's the last thing he put down when he crawled in his bedroll that night. And of course I went to Troy. I knew him from time one. I went to school with one of his sisters there at Lovington, and watched them all, and I know that Mr. Holleyman held his own with some of the best ropers in the United States. And they, you know, I kept thinking about that Lovington rodeo. My dad was on the rodeo committee up there for years and years, and he never had a very high opinion of rodeos, because every morning after the rodeo, they'd go down and get all the bronc riders and bull riders out of jail. And he never had, and he discouraged me all along. And I served on the rodeo committee there in Big Spring for about 28 years. And you had a completely different set of people. These college kids, they'd come to town and they'd go to the Y and work out. But I asked old Toots Mansfield one time, I said, well, Toots, how'd you stay in shape? He said, well, Sonny and I we'd stop to get gas or something like that, and said one of us would get out and start running down the road. And we'd run, and they'd come, and the other one would finally pick him up. Well, the next time they stopped, the other one would get out, run down the road. And so they were very dedicated and really good ropers, and so was this Mr. Holleyman here.